Welcome back to Tribe Talks with Archer Point Retail. Today we're talking about the magic of marketplaces for omnichannel retailers. Listen in as our retail experts, Kayla Magnan and Thomas Nielsen, share how you can leverage online marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, social media platforms, and global loyalty and rebate sites to expand your footprint. Let's begin. Kayla, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Suzanne. Although this Tribe Talk has us focusing on the Marketplace Network, I feel this topic is naturally like many of our other Tribe Talks, especially the ones we covered on loyalty, brand engagement, boosting your e-commerce strategy, and social media activity. And that's because it's nearly impossible to independently talk about these segments without mentioning another in some brief form. Many of the business actions you take in one of these areas will impact another area, as many of our viewers know from experience. So as obvious as it may be, the technology supporting these multi-channel areas should be and needs to be integrated for ease, speed, and more opportunity. Opportunity for sales and building connections. If we're going to provide multi-channel retailing, we should be providing a unified experience and consider all these channels as part of your retail omni-channel strategy, where that focus needs to be surrounding the consumer experience being a seamless approach through any shopping channel. Our continued adoption into e-commerce makes these online outlets a necessity for retailers. Consumers absolutely expect these platforms now. And when consumers do find the retailers on these channels, it's then expected to provide accurate and detailed information. Now we're beginning to touch on some of those other Tribe Talks where we shared some specific ideas on how to provide or set these expectations. And I'm sure we can all list some key general benefits to integrating: eliminate dual manual entries, possible errors, save time, increase input output, so on. So Thomas, maybe you can just start us off with key benefits specific to omnichannel integration now that we're including online marketplaces.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy day to join us here in this month's Tribe Talk. Kayla and Suzanne, thank you so much for having me back. But Kayla, integrating does provide those immediate benefits. No matter what is being integrated, you typically get those common advantages. And maybe this is common with the online selling, but a key benefit of integrating your omnichannel is better customer experience. Because with integration, all your selling platforms will have accurate and consistent information. We mentioned before statistics and data points that shows consumers evaluating brands based on user experience and available data. Consumers consider factors like accurate inventory information, consistent in-stock days to decide which retailer to buy from or buy back from. Integrating these shopping channels will automatically pass some of this important data, vital data that consumers require, automatically between these systems. And don't just think about management level data. Think of the consumer experience. All these platforms sell your goods. Can they accept the same coupons and gift cards and so on?
Good point. Customer experience on these platforms is a huge main key with marketplace shopping. And just from personal experience, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when you have a coupon from a retailer, but then it doesn't work when you're ready to check out. So Thomas, while we're talking integration, I do want to continue this, but more on the technical side of things. We've already mentioned a couple of times integrating to all these channels, all these platforms, and there is a lot. Right offhand, we can list common ones like the Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, Amazon. You have the actual retailer's website. Then there's various selling platforms like Etsy, Wish, Newegg. Now we're including rebate and loyalty sites like Rakuten and Ebates. The marketplace is bursting with options in these channels. So I think we're all wondering, how do we even get them in sync? Is it even possible? Especially since all these marketplaces were developed by different companies. So they have different interfaces, data points. Now I think it may be clearer why I think we should start off with the technical side.
Yeah, Kayla, I can see that now. And keeping differences in mind, there will be variation based on retailers' current environment, immediate and future requirements, budgets, available resources, and omnichannel goals. Naturally, first assess the platforms you use or you want to use, then work with us here at Archer Point Retail to review what features are required, and then evaluate if any application have standard connections available already. That is the easiest and simplest way to handle the technical side. But let me further detail on the connections on how we can assess these integrations. Do we go point to point, meaning integrating each channel directly into LS Central? But here, think about how you're going to manage these sites. For instance, the rewards and kickbacks on those loyalty and rebate sites. How will you manage that if the integration is direct? Typically, these platforms provide you some kind of a dashboard. Or do we investigate the multi-channel management solution like Archerpoint's Channel Sales Manager, also known as CSM? This application will connect the Business Central solution into multiple different online sites and social marketplaces, like your website and Amazon. But I would say there's probably three main categories to consider with connectors. Two of them I just mentioned. One was the direct or also point to point. Two is the centralized solution to connect. There is also the data integration piece, reporting. And Kayla, of course, in many instances, there will be a mix of these categories.
Thomas, these are great integration considerations, and I feel the direct connection is pretty self-explanatory. I guess the centralized connection more comes into the mix when there's multiple similar applications, or primarily if the retailer wants to limit the integration points and centralize external applications to then integrate just a few systems into their primary retail system. And maybe an easy example to reference would be in the hospitality industry. There's solutions that centralize all those third-party delivery orders the restaurants receive from Uber Eats, Grubhub, and those kinds of ordering marketplaces. So do we consider the same centralized solution to work for social marketplaces using one multi-channel management solution to integrate alike marketplaces?
Well, Kayla, you're correct that using a centralized connector would be the solution that hooks all similar applications together. And then you would you would integrate that one solution into LS Central. But I want the retailers to consider more than just okay, these sites are similar, let's group them with a centralized connector. And then there's only a few connectors and be available in many, if not all, marketplaces. Does that really make sense for your business? More specifically, your customers and products. Retailers should be asking themselves, with each marketplace and online sales platform, why should we be on this platform? Who is this marketplace targeting? Is it a fit for my products? Remember, e-tailing shopping journey is not just search, click, and buy. It is now a continuous cycle: search, review, compare, click, and buy. So top of mind here should be your audience and your products. Some of the platforms, or some of these platforms, provide unity amongst the sellers. So for example, take Amazon. All items are listed in the same style and format. So let's say you sell kitchen appliances or electronic devices. What you see is pretty much what you get. And the consumers commonly focus on reviews and price for those items. But what about if you're buying a perfume or a special outfit for a specific event? The unique shopping experience are lost through this uniform format. And those experiences are what usually make the difference to the customer in many purchases.
And that's another great point, Thomas. I think, to put simply, each platform should then have a specific goal. Retailers that are currently on or even considering using these various platforms should begin with asking yourself and your business team, why? Is your audience able to review your items with the same emotion as if they were in your store? We here at Archerpoint always encourage taking many of the business initiatives in small steps, and this topic is no different. Start with one marketplace or just a few items on a certain channel, maybe others in another channel. Being listed in a marketplace does not mean you need to list all your items on this channel. And just in case retailers are wondering why they should consider these marketplaces, if it's not obvious, these are hot selling channels right now. But to back it up with some metrics, I recently saw a survey on the most active online marketplaces. I bet many of us were unaware that half of the top marketplaces, that's 50 of the top 100, are US-based online marketplaces. And if we just reflect from the recent and drastic online buying shift with 2020, the online marketplace sales increased by 40% last year, and the online marketplace sales accounted for 62% of the global retail sales. So while there's a bunch of platforms to consider, make sure each marketplace should be used for specific goals. Remember, they're unique.
Exactly, Kayla. Make sure you select platforms that will benefit your organization. And we always recommend that you think beyond the revenue stream. These channels are now incorporated into the customer journey. Remember, it is search, review, compare, click, and buy. And although Amazon continues to dominate the online marketplace, I don't want to intimidate our retailers, because also remember creativity. These social and online marketplaces are great ways to increase opportunity and engagement. These are platforms not only for engaging customers to help promote your business. How can we think creatively against Amazon? Let's think about a business and the neighboring businesses. Aren't they all competing against Amazon? Maybe we can think about how the fulfillment network could merge to be more competitive. Or think socially creative, where again, we would more so reference to other tribe talks on social media and brand engagement. But marketing gets a bonus to integration. Coupons and digital codes could be offered to work across platforms. And just listen to this social media engagement statistics. Almost 90% of Instagram users interacted with the brand's page after being presented the product information. And it wasn't just the user beginning to follow the brand or went to browse their website. In some instances, the user purchased the item after being showed the information right on their social feed.
So what I'm hearing is nearly every Instagram user that scrolled through product information in their feed basically then began that cycle of search, review, compare, even going all the way to click and buy, just from scrolling past relevant information in their feed. Seems pretty clear this is a no-brainer channel for retailers to incorporate, not only for revenue generating avenues and network connections, but these social marketplaces can be easy data capture funnels. Consumers are relying more on this electronic world, not only from a safety standpoint with contactless options, but through the whole journey. For you're so right, Thomas, this e-tailing journey is a continuous cycle. Search, review, compare, and it continues. Search, review, compare. We cannot stress enough how technology should support these activities, but then encourage consumers to click and buy. And not only from a direct brand marketing standpoint, but we're also now very familiar with the influencer status these social platforms gather. So expanding on your creativity comment, retailers can analyze partnering with influencers and allowing them to share their brand message to the large and loyal base of followers they have. So again, Thomas, all of these are great tips and ideas, but in the back of my head, I keep thinking about those multi-channel management applications. Integration has its many benefits, but wouldn't having all these social selling platforms integrated in an independent, direct way begin to make the solution complex? It almost seems natural to just gravitate to the applications that centralize these channels and simplify the integration points. But what's your feedback?
Well, Kayla, as I mentioned, these marketplace applications that retailers use or want to use should be carefully evaluated. Retailers should be mindful while we encourage experimenting and creativity. These platforms can be a tremendous help, but can also easily hurt your online reputation. And think long-term vision. How do you intend to grow your business should be part of these strategies. Organizations need the right resources to build, install, and support these technology components. And while keeping the IT support in mind, will these marketplaces integration support activities be internal, external, or a mix of both? Think of things like the time it takes to develop and set up the integration. Then any time needed to maintain or enhance the integration. But do not forget the additional software costs. Marketplaces have their own funds to sell through their platform, but those channel management solutions will typically come with their own licensing and setup fees. So while it's natural to gravitate to a centralized solution, it should not be the only consideration and option evaluated. I would also say retailers and marketplaces are unique and have varying strengths and weaknesses. If a retailer can match or compare their pros and cons features to those of the marketplace, it will be much easier to identify the platform's goals if using any.
Great thoughts. Understanding the new channel's impact helps prepare for transformation, but truly knowing your audience and your product, it will be much easier to focus on the channel's goal. Since truly knowing your customers will allow you to build that dedicated relationship, but understanding the strengths and weaknesses helps retailers manage reputation. And you just briefed on it, Thomas, but I think it's worth another mention. If any solution or marketplace Yes, these are hot shopping channels that could be a fit for your brand, but maybe not. So we cannot emphasize enough to evaluate these channels before experimenting. These new directions could be sending different feedback to the consumers, especially if retailers are not listening to feedback from the audience. The platforms are made for shopping convenience, nothing different than what marketplaces were originally created for, but maybe a common term here is heard the central plaza. But it was all just for a convenient area consumers can purchase their desired goods quickly and easily. Well, the one difference from then and now is the change in our habits surrounding this shopping experience. We have redefined service and luxury, and each year we seem to keep redefining them. But I think that's how the industry stays so competitive. With advancements in technology, it only gets easier to adopt these habits and to think of easier, more enhanced and creative experiences. I'm excited to see how 2021 continues. The statistics are predicting that this year in America alone, there will be 230 million digital buyers.
And Kayla, while that is an exciting projection of the digital sales in US, I agree we cannot emphasize enough on evaluating these marketplaces alongside your audience. In 2019, the e-commerce sale was only 14% of the transactions in America. Although 230 million digital buyers is a lot, just think of our staggering sales last year. Anything can happen between the months to drastically change our predictions. With the pandemic, we saw online sales numbers they're now chart-breaking, which they are and have been. There is no doubt about that. We all know that e-commerce or omnichannel growth year over year has been immense in comparison to in-store shopping. But this is just an example of why it's important to know your audience and the business strengths and weaknesses.
Thomas, I could not agree more that understanding strengths and weaknesses is always key. Strengths, I would say, are easy, but where retailers need to improve can be a little bit more daunting. Would you say there are common areas that typically need improvement within the retail marketplace?
Yeah, I think we just highlighted a lot of the focus areas for retailers. That is to identify retailers' audience, products, and marketplaces. Many businesses select a platform and then push all their products and services. As we mentioned, this may not make sense for your products, or that channel might not be targeting your audience. There are pros and cons to the platforms, but it all begins with identifying your audience and product and marketplace. If you understand the audience you target, you will know which product they are looking for. If you understand the marketplaces, you will know which product will be best positioned for purchase on which application. And again, I'm not saying heavily push all your products and services on these sales channels. Provide information, share articles by known and credible sources, write your own blogs, how-to articles, post videos. Again, know your audience, and you can provide them the details in the format they expect.
So the key to improving an online sales channel is to identify your audience, product, and marketplaces. Then you can build a relationship with your followers and constantly listen to their feedback. I see many organizations being very proud of their strengths, as they should be, but not open to improving or even recognizing those unsatisfactory areas. And I get it. It can be embarrassing to display where there is lack, and then worrisome competition may find that as an easy target. But while I understand that, I also know that there's a sensible way to communicate everything. And personally, I'm more willing to consider a retailer that shows, hey, we're not too good at X yet, but we are good at Y. So while we improve on X, let us accommodate you with Y. And just going off my retail experience, when I worked retail, it was these moments when I would approach it with the same mind frame. Not yet, but let me try to support you in a current way. It helped increase customer service, deepen the relationship, and build on trust. And to relate that to marketplaces, an example could be just with Instagram. Maybe you don't offer the shop now button, but you take orders on your website. If you don't take orders on your website, maybe they can send them in through email or by phone. If you do utilize the platform shopping functionality, just a simple ensuring the links are directing as intended and not producing errors can help tremendously. Cart abandonment is just as present on these marketplaces as we find with native e-commerce sites.
And that's a good point, Kayla. And many of these online orders are coming from mobile devices that are more sensitive to the navigation formatting. Retailers need to be tracking their cart abandonment figures. This can not only expose where there may be mobile challenges. Think of this like a return experience. We have a customer, product in the middle, and the opportunity for the retailer to satisfy the situation. Before we wrap things up for today, let me just share statistics on why it is important to track cart abandonment. In a retail report we recently read, 45% of cart abandonment emails were open. Of the 45%, 21% clicked on the link inside the email. And of those 21% who clicked on something inside the email, 50% of them actually bought something. Not only can you win a sale, but then identify where the abandonment happened. Was the navigation difficult? Did the links not direct the consumer correctly? Did the coupon not work, and so on? But Kayla, we could label this under building relationship and listen to feedback focus areas we mentioned earlier.
Thomas, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's a great point. Many retailers may be only thinking of the typical metrics: number of sales, number of returns, average transaction amount, new customer additions, and so on. But cart abandonment is a super important indicator to where there may be gaps or just where to begin on those areas of improvement. And as always, we could spend much more time being creative and sharing our ideas. So feel free to reach out to Thomas and I to keep these strategies and collaborations ongoing. But with respect of everyone's time, we're going to hand it back to Suzanne. We should have a time for a couple of questions, and then we'll get into a quick preview of our next session. Not to spoil it, but it is one of my favorite session types, a product demo. But Suzanne, let's get to those questions first.
Thank you, Kayla and Thomas. We do have a few questions that came in. The first one is, how much budget should be allocated for marketplaces?
You want to take that one, Kayla?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think retailers really need to pinpoint what marketplaces they intend to use. I think it's just too hard to give a general budget because there's so many different platforms and they all have so many different price points. Some have monthly costs, some have costs based on transaction volume per transaction amount. So it would be easier to identify the intended marketplace and then consider the budget to allocate after that.
Thank you. Next up is, which marketplaces would you recommend we start with first?
I can take that one again, Thomas.
Yeah,
and here,
yeah.
I think it would just be better to have a more strategic discussion with us, because there may be some common platforms or more commonly known platforms in specific industries, but it's really going to depend on your business goals and your requirements, and then we can help select a suitable marketplace based on those needs that's in the most recommended list.
Thank you, Thomas and Kayla. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for watching this Archer Point video. If you found it helpful, make sure to check out our website and blog at www.archerpoint.com. Additionally, if you have any questions regarding our products, services, or information in this video, feel free to email us at info@archerpoint.com. Thanks.